There was a time when I had it all. People would ask me, what was it like being untouchable? The question they really should have asked was, what happens when it's all over?
You set a good example by snitching on your friends in the mob.
We're not in Brooklyn anymore.
I don't think there's anywhere further from Brooklyn than this battle.
Hey guys, Lucas here again for another movie review. Today is for the new dark comedy, The Family, which stars Robert Deniro, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Tommy Lee Jones, and is directed by Luc Besson. The movie follows a family led by Robert De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer, their husband and wife, and they have two kids played by John DeLeo and the insanely gorgeous Diana Agron, and they're a family that has connections to the mob. They used to be in the mafia, and Robert De Niro's character snitched on them in order to not get killed, and so far he has been put in the witness protection program, and they are located in France, and eventually some of the people that he ratted out come back for him, and hijinks ensue. Robert De Niro is one of my favorite actors of all time, like in my top 3, but the guy needs to stop taking cash grab roles or needs to fire his agent, because he's had really one really good performance in one really good movie that I can remember in the past 5 years, and that's really Silver Linings Playbook. Everything else that I can really remember has either been really mediocre or terrible, and this movie falls into the latter of mediocre. You would think Robert De Niro in a mob-related movie would be fun to see again, but in this movie he's just sleepwalking through it because he's played this role so many times, and the movie doesn't give him or really most of the characters anything to do that really makes anything that interesting in it. Another actor who seems very bored in this movie is Tommy Lee Jones. He plays like the FBI agent that's overlooking the family and watching out for them. Again, same thing, given nothing much to do, has very little presence when he comes on, believe it or not, which is something to say for Tommy Lee Jones. And he just seems like he's sleepwalking, and the movie doesn't give him anything interesting to do either. Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays Robert De Niro's wife, is really good in the movie. She has a great New York accent. I thought she was very believable, and she was by far my favorite performance in the movie. Also, the kid that plays their son, John DeLeo, he's like the youngest out of the family. He was a lot of fun. I actually liked him a lot too. And Diana Agron, I thought she was alright. I'm going to get to her later. But it was a mixture of her character and her performance, but she's so insanely good looking that you really don't mind. Like, look at her. I mean, you can see why I thought she was fine. The one thing with this movie is that it's poorly paced and it feels really, really long. One, because it's not very interesting, and two, the pacing is off. The movie's about 1 hour and 52 minutes, and it feels a lot longer than it actually is. There's just a lot of stuff that it seems like filler, or they try to have comedic stuff, and that's another thing. The movie tries to balance comedy with, the drama, and most of the comedy isn't that funny. It just drags the movie out. Speaking of comedy, one of the biggest flaws of this movie, and one of the ways I feel like Luc Besson really directs this movie poorly, is the tonal shifts between the more comedic sides and just the serious dramatic stuff going on. For the most part, I felt like the first 45 minutes of the movie, while I didn't think it was that funny, I felt like it was enjoyable enough to where it was balancing the two well. But especially in the third act, which I thought took it way too seriously, the movie just has extreme outbursts of violence that doesn't really fit with the tone that they set, and it kind of seems to come out of nowhere. And the third act, where they have this big over-the-top shootout, is taken so seriously that it almost feels like a completely different movie and lacks any of the fun that the first two-thirds kind of had. And this is the most unrealistic mafia movie, by the way. This is a cartoon. This is seems like someone who just watched like a gangster cartoon and decided to write a mob movie. So don't expect it to be anything like Goodfellas or anything like that, as you could probably tell, but it definitely gets pretty silly. I forgot to mention that the movie is also dragged out by these subplots that either have no real emphasis or development for the story, or they're just plain creepy. There's one involving Diana Agron's character and a teacher that was just extremely uncomfortable to watch. That could have been cut out completely, and I would have felt a lot cleaner, and the movie would have been a lot shorter. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Ultimately, The Family is just kind of a mediocre movie. I love mafia movies. I love mob movies. A lot of my favorite movies fall under this genre, but it's just a misfire. And I think that you could watch it and rent it at home and have some fun with it, but it's definitely not anything worth checking out in the theater. So for that, I'm going to give The Family 2.5 stars out of 5. Bobby D, impress me again. So if you saw The Family, what did you think of it? Who was your favorite performance in the movie? Did you think Diana Agron is as incredibly sexy as I do? Was that worth the price of admission for you? Because I almost recommended it just for that reason. But that being said, if you like this review, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.
How was the first day?
Nothing special.
And I'm feeling good.
Why'd you kill the plumber?
I didn't kill him. I took him to the hospital.
Who's gonna fix the pipes now?
But who's going to rebuild the supermarket that burned down the day we got here? Huh?